Welcome to All the F Words,
a podcast where two writer friends, that's us, nearly 30 years apart, explore everything we give an F about. I'm Gabi Moskowitz.
And I'm Joanne Green. On each episode of All the F Words, we'll focus on a theme that starts with the letter F. Themes like friendship,
Family,
failure,
fear,
and fatigue.
We'll talk about the way these themes have impacted us in our lives from our distinct generational perspectives, and we'll talk about the way they come up in the world we live in.
Today we're going to talk about friendship, and there is so much to say on the topic. We're going to talk about how at different stages of your life you look for different things from your friends, and we will absolutely address how COVID has influenced our friendships.
And we'll talk about our friendship.
Oh, absolutely.
So before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about what we're giving an F about this week.
Well, I am planning to go on my first vacation in a couple of years. So I'm thinking a lot about that. I'm giving an F about what I might be exposed to, but then I'm telling myself that it's all going to be okay because I'm going to wear a mask and I'm going to be super careful. And I've had 3 vaccinations, so I'm probably good to go. But it is a really wonderful feeling to be contemplating lying on a beach and reading a novel, maybe sipping on a margarita, who knows?
Oh my God. I'm so excited for you and so jealous.
I think it's good to admit that. Jealousy is good. It doesn't begin with the letter F, but I'm sure there's a F and jealous could be a whole episode. What do you give an F about this week, Gabi?
Oh my gosh. I am giving a big F about serotonin. I had a baby, as you know, 7.5 months ago, and I really have been putting off dealing with just a little touch of postpartum depression. And this week, I finally talked to my doctor. I said, everything's fine, but I'm not okay. And so she put me on Zoloft. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm really excited to see how it might impact things.
First of all, here's your little mini round of applause for taking care of yourself, because our audience doesn't know Gabi doesn't just have a 7-month-old. She also has a toddler. And that is a lot to handle, particularly in a global pandemic, when one's babysitter has announced that she's taking a month off.
Yeah. She gave us a heads up, and it's totally great. But I'm really happy for her to be able to do that. But it is also a lot more time at home with the kids, which, of course, as you know, is such a gift. But it's very draining, and so it was just really clear to me that I'm a highly therapized person. I've done therapy for a long time. I love it. I think it's so great, and it was just really clear that I was not myself. And from everything that I have heard and read and understood from friends who've gone through it, it's a tough time, even when you're in a situation where everything is great.
I think for those of us trying to balance career and family, it's particularly tough when you enter a new phase of motherhood. I remember getting a lot of messages from the world, from my family, from the workplace, that made it very difficult to do it all. And I think it's a unique pressure that women feel.
Yeah, right. I often think about the fact that nobody ever asks my husband how he's balancing work and family. It's just sort of understood that
Is he?
He's balancing.
Is he?
He is. I mean, he is. He's balanced. I mean, and he's also struggling because, we really, it's like so heartbreaking to miss moments with them. But we're better parents when we have time to dedicate to who we are, but it just feels like there are not enough hours in the day. So, yeah.
Well, given the fact that there aren't enough hours in the day, what's happened to your friendships during this period of time?
It's a really great question. I am simultaneously feeling like I'm not tending them as much as I would like to, and I am relying on them so much. I mean, one of the weird things about both COVID and this time in my life, as someone who's mostly staying at home with kids and working a little bit as well, and also someone living through a global pandemic, is that I feel a little bit like I'm in a vacuum. I mostly interact with small children, and the few adults that I interact with on a regular basis, it's a small number. And so when I have an issue come up and I can get on the phone with a trusted friend, it really feels like the world opens, even if I can't see them in person. Just being able to talk to someone who's not in my immediate line of sight all the time is so helpful and refreshing. What about you?
So let's drill down. Yeah, let's drill down on that for just a moment. What is it that our friends give us that we don't get from the other people in our lives? And in a minute, we will tell a little bit about how we are friends, because it's kind of unlikely to be friends when you're two different generations, but we are.
Yeah. So the things that our friends give us that that we don't necessarily get from our families.
Yeah.
One of the things that is so important just about growing up and life in general is having people who know you in different ways, in my experience, So,
yep.
So one of my dearest friends, Rebecca, you know her as well. I was telling her a little bit about how I've been feeling, and she is one of the most organized people that you've ever met. And she immediately went to her photo files and printed a photo, like a sheet of photo paper that had like 6 photos of us before I had children. And it was actually, I think it was when her kids were little and I didn't have kids. And she gave me this beautiful card, and it was to remind me, she said she wanted to remind me of who I was before I had kids. And just to sort of let me know that that person is still inside of me. And of course, I love my kids more than anything and am so grateful that they're here. But I'm struggling so much with finding that person that I was before, and in making sure that that person doesn't sort of evaporate. And it was like she knew exactly what to do to show me that she still knows me as that person that I always was before the kids entered my life. And that is the kind of thing that I think you can't get from anyone other than a really close friend who knows you intimately in a different iteration than you are now.
Well, a much broader iteration. So she knows you now, she knew you then, she'll know you in the future, and she'll be there for you at all those different stages. She also, as a mother, understands that you're in that phase right now where you are a milk machine, right?
Yeah, literally. Yep. Yeah. I am the
You're not
literal
pumping right now during this
sustenance.
recording, are you?
Oh, no. I'm not.
Are you pumping as we speak?
I'm not that much of a multitasker. Yeah, no, that I think really encapsulates one of the most important things that friends can do for you, especially when you're stuck, is offer a perspective that has the you that they know. Even when you meet people who know you who know you in the moment that you are, I'm not sure how to say this exactly. Like you, Joanne, have a unique perspective on who I am, and it's based on your perspective. It's based on the perch from which you view me in my life. And so your feedback, which incorporates your understanding of me, but also your experience, is so helpful whenever I go to you for something. And I think like that's just one of the magical things about friendship is feeling seen in a way that maybe you don't get seen every day.
Absolutely. And I think it's important, at least for me, to have friends that fill different needs in my life.
Yes.
I have hiking buddies, people with whom I enjoy a particular activity. There are other people who make me laugh, and there's something really wonderful about that. We had a little dinner party last Saturday night with 3 other couples, and we met when our kids were in preschool, and now we're all grandparents. And there's just a certain way we can tease each other because we've known each other so long. And it is assumed that underneath it all is basically a love and an acceptance of one another that we can take risks, and go places you might not go with people who you don't have that deep understanding with. So there are different kinds of friendships. And
you bring up an interesting point about friendship that I often think about, which is the concept of couples friendships. It really is it's got to be in my experience, it's got to be a specific pairing in order for it to really work. All four people, or more than four, depending on how many couples are getting together. It's a different kind of friend making than when you make close one-on-one friendships. My husband and I have had experiences where one of us is good friends with someone, but it doesn't necessarily work as a couples pairing because all four members are not vibing. But it's so special when you find another
100%. There are situations where the close friendship is between two of the people, either because they adore each other and they give each other so much, or because they have a shared interest. Say two of the people play golf on a regular basis, or that would not be me, of course, but I think you know where I'm going with this. And the other half of the couple gets along just fine, but it's just not where the chemistry is. It's not where the magic is. And I think, a really solid friendship has a certain spark. It has a kind of magic that you maybe can't even describe in words.
Yeah, well, it is an intimate relationship.
Well, let's talk about our friendship and what attracted us to one another.
Yeah. I mean, I remember you had hired me to come to your workplace to do a staff engagement cooking class thing, come and teach people how to cook. And I remember I came once before the event, and you and I just to get to know each other and talk about what we were going to do. And I think I sat in your office for like an hour, just schmoozing and talking. We had sort of been, peripherally connected, but this was the first time that we were really face to face and really talking. And it was just like meeting any other important person in my life. There was just this immediate spark that clearly we were two souls with a lot in common.
Your energy was great. There was a warmth and authenticity. Ironically, we had both gone to Emerson College, which is crazy, in Boston. Yeah. So we had some shared geography. You grew up, I think your high school boyfriend was someone I knew because he had gone to school with my son. So we had that sort of in common. But I think it's really intriguing when a friendship forms sort of in spite of what one would think are the obvious differences. And I have had a few friendships like this in my life. I have a friendship with a woman who is Muslim and in her 30s, and I'm Jewish and in my 60s. And we just have, it's like deep in our souls, there's some kind of connection. And we feel the same in some ways. And I just love when that happens. And I think I encourage everybody listening to try to be open to that and to try to see those sparks where you might miss them because you might not realize that you can actually have a friend that looks really different than you.
Totally agreed. And I think, we had that spark, and then it turned out that we lived near each other, and our a lot of things that we were involved in were the same. And so being able to actually nurture a friendship, especially at this chaotic time in my life, became so important and so special. And I think, kind of one of the reasons that this is a perfect opening theme for our podcast is because it really is the foundation of why we're even here talking to each other and recording this.
And we're both writers. That's the other thing.
We are both writers.
We're both
yes.
trying to write in the middle of all this other stuff. My career has primarily been on the radio, some television, always writing things, but never just really focusing in on the writing. And over the last couple of years, I've been writing a memoir, which has been really